class is Silvassa. In the last class we had studied about the development of female gametophyte and how how does a female gamete develop inside the ovary. The next process or the next stage will be the second process of the pre-fertilization event, that is gamete transfer. We have also discussed earlier that in case of seeded plants or basically angiosperms where the flower development takes place, the process which is responsible for transfer of the male gamete to the female gamete is called as pollination. So basically pollination is transfer of male gamete to the female gamete. This process will be called as the pollination process. Okay. Now different plants, they have different pollinating mechanisms, and depending upon that the pollination process is of three types or three kinds. The kind of pollination process which is found in angiospermic plants will be of three kinds. One is called as autogamy. Second is heterogamy. And the third kind is xenogamy. So let us try and understand that what exactly happens in all these three kinds of pollinating or pollination processes. Now, in case of autogamy, what happens is transfer of pollen to the stigma of same flower. That means here the flowers will be bisexual, right? That means within a same flower, if this is the structure of a flower, a part of the flower, this is the female reproductive part, and if this is the anther which is developing inside the flower will be bisexual. It has both male and female reproductive parts. And if the pollination is taking place within the same flower, then these type of pollination mechanism is called as autogamy. That means the transfer of pollen to the stigma of the same flower is called as autogamy. The second type of pollination is heterogamy. What happens here is transfer of male gamete, or basically you can say the pollen, to the stigma of another flower on same plant. Here the flower can be either bisexual, or you will find that majority of the flowers in this case will be unisexual. That means what happens here is on the same plant there will be flowers developing which will be unisexual flowers, or there are certain plants in which you can see that the flowers are also bisexual. But in either of the cases, the transfer of the pollen to the stigma will be on different flower only. So, if the plant is unisexual, flowers are unisexual, then one of the flower will have the female reproductive part. This is the stigma style in ovary, and the other flower will be having the anthers. So, what you can say, this is the flower with female reproductive part will be called as a pistillate flower, and the flower with the male reproductive part will be called as a staminate. Right? Now, what happens here is how the pollination is taking place. The pollens from the one flower are transferred onto the stigma of another flower but on the same plant. Remember, here the flowers need to be bisexual, and here the flowers should be unisexual, of course. But sometimes you can find that certain species of plants, they will have bisexual flowers. But Though they have bisexual flowers, they will never allow the pollination within the same flower. The third kind of pollination is called as xenogamy. Now what happens in xenogamy is transfer of pollen to stigma of another flower present on different plant. This is called as xenogamy, or it can also be called as allogamy. Now, as I have written here, the transfer of the pollen to the stigma of another flower of different plant. So where lies the difference? Here the flower is different, here also the flower is different. But here the plant is same, whereas here the plant and flowers both are different. So there will be individual plants, dioecious plants. A plant which will have the female flower and a plant which will have the male flower. And then what happens is pollination is going to take place. Transfer of the pollen from the transfer of the pollen to the stigma of another flower on different plants. Okay, here also the flowers need to be unisexual and the plants will be dioecious. Right? Now, the xenogamy, if you see all these three kinds of pollination processes, autogamy, heterogamy and xenogamy or allogamy, you will see that autogamy is a type of self-pollination process, or you can say the process wherein self-fertilization is taking place, right? That means within the same plant, the fertilization process takes place because the pollen is going to land on the stigma within the same flower. In case of heterogamy, what you see is these complete processes functionally cross-pollination. It is functionally cross-pollination, functionally self-pollination, but genetically it will be cross-pollination, right? Because the genes in this case will be here. Genetically, if you see here also what happens, it is landing on the same, within the same flower. So here the gametes will be genetically similar. Here also, though the flowers are different, but it is the same plant. So here also it is going to be genetically similar. But it is a kind of self-pollination only, but it is, you can say functionally it represents a type of cross-pollination method wherein there can be certain agents which can be required. In case of xenogamy, what you see is the two different plants are involved, right? So what happens here? The gametes will be genetically dissimilar. Since two different plants are involved, it will be genetically dissimilar. So you can say that xenogamy or allogamy is nothing but cross-fertilization. Now, whenever or those plants which undergo or which show cross-pollination, which favor cross-pollination, these transfer of the male gamete up to the stigma require certain agents. So there are different organisms which act as agents for the process of cross-pollination to take place. Let us study these examples. Wind, it can also carry the pollen grains. Water, insects, birds, animals, bats, right? These are different organisms, or you can say different agencies which are favoring cross-fertilization or the cross-pollination process. Now let us study what exactly are if the agencies are involved in pollination. What is the process of pollination called as? For example, if the wind is acting as a pollinating agent, then it is called as anemophily. If water acts as an agency, it is called as hydrophily. Insects, it will be called as entomophily. Birds, it is called as ornithophily. Anemophily is nothing but study. When agencies like wind are involved, it will be called as anemophily. Animals, if they are involved, it is called as zoophily. And if bats, yes, bats do act as pollinating agents, and if bats are acting as pollinating agents, then that process will be called as chiropterophily. It will be called as chiropterophily. Okay, now since xenogamy is a type of cross-fertilization, there are different agencies involved. The flower present in case or the plants which favor cross-pollination will have to undergo certain adaptations with their structures, with their colors, with their odors, everything. So in the next time we will study what exactly are these agencies in detail. But before studying that about these agencies which favor cross-pollination or fertilization, we will study that what are the different adaptations that are shown by the plant to favor self-fertilization as well as to favor cross-fertilization processes. Thank you.